Good afternoon, everyone, and we are really excited to be here at AWS Community Summit. It's one of my first talk, hoping to continue this next year as well. So let me start by asking you this. Have you ever wondered what happened to old, forgotten AWS accounts? Where did they go? They remain in our environment. They continue to be existing and they deliver no business value to us. They continue draining the budget, and so in fast-paced environment like ours at booking.com, this was a significant serious problem. So we came up with this solution. We built this automation that does something like it continuously scans your all non-prod environments. It will identify those inactive dormant accounts. It will validate with the account owners, and then it safely deletes them from the environment, and also it will delete all the resources within them. Before we dive into the details, let's take a moment to introduce ourselves. So I am Anushka Bhatnagar. I currently work as software engineer in booking.com. I mainly focus on building and architecting solutions on AWS for booking.com.
And hi everyone, my name is Ajinkya. I also go by the name AJ, and I'm part of AWS Professional Services, and I like helping customers, especially enterprise customers, to build secure and scalable systems. Glad to be here.
So at booking.com, our mission is quite simple but powerful, making it easier for everyone to experience the world. So if we talk, and it's not just about a single booking, it starts from your flight tickets, then your hotels, to your rental cars, and even to your local attractions. So we are present everywhere. If we talk about some of the numbers, we had billions of guest arrivals, and we have millions of hotel listings on our platform. We have 140 offices in 70 countries, and we are globally more than 24,000 of employees. So now the question comes, how AWS is playing a role at such a big organization like booking.com. So if we talk about the software development life cycle, we see the main different stages, 4 stages, and AWS is heavily involved at each of the following stages. And also the key role is played by AWS Professional Services, who provide us continuous assistance and support in all the stages of software development. If we start with initiation phase, where we start gathering the requirements, we analyze what AWS resources we got. We finalize our budget. Budget is all dependent on dev account, integration account, and the prod account. And then we construct a business case around it. Then we move forward to the design phase, where we do our thorough architecture reviews, which is done by architecture review board team and the cloud security team. We make sure our solutions are secure and compliant. And then comes the development stage, where we continuously develop, test, and iterate. It continues in a cycle until we get a production ready code. Once we have a production ready code, we move forward, we deploy it into the production, and then we make sure that correct observability and metrics is present in production. Also, if you see, AWS training and knowledge transfer is constant in all the stages. We heavily invest and we encourage all our engineers, managers, product owners to have their AWS skills enhanced. And also the cost management, which is constant at all the 4 stages, and also our solution is based on cost optimization strategy. So if I move forward then, so the question comes, why do we have so many dormant accounts? Why there are so many inactive accounts that are there around us? So first of the reason is, we have an ease of creating AWS account. We have an internal automation engine that just with few clicks, the engineers can just quickly spin up AWS accounts, which is a good thing. It reduces friction, it empowers the team, but it also leads to high volume of AWS accounts being created for maybe a short-term use. Secondly, we highly encourage experimentation. At booking.com, we have the value of learning forever. We highly encourage everyone to innovate using their sandbox accounts or maybe personal dev accounts, which is also a good thing, but we end up having a lot of AWS accounts, and once engineers' purpose is over, the AWS accounts might be forgotten to get deleted, and they lie around us like forever, and they continuously drain our budget and not delivering any business value to us. And also we have like series of events all through the year, like hackathons or maybe graduate bootcamp sessions, some training sessions, in which we continuously create AWS account, but after the events get over, those accounts are also keep existing. Users might forgot to delete them. So now my colleague Ajinkya will tell you what were the other challenges that led to this automation. Over to you, Ajinkya.
Thanks. So if we have to address this particular issue of having a lot of inactive accounts, or what we call them dormant accounts, how do we handle that, right? If we say that let's just go ahead and delete them, that will work. But for an enterprise like booking.com, the number of accounts that are scheduled for deletion is quite high. And then there is a limit, service quota limit on AWS organization. Some of you may know that already, that you can only delete 10% of accounts in a calendar month. So that puts your account deletion process at halt if you have huge amount of AWS accounts scheduled for deletion. Now, these accounts are lying there. The resources in those accounts are costing you money, and you are not really deriving any business value. So that was another challenge. The other thing is that although quite often we suggest developers or folks who are part of the hackathons or training to go ahead and delete their accounts or resources within their accounts, sometimes these things just stay idle and people forget to delete these accounts even though they are scheduled for deletion. So this is still again costing us money. So what is the way in which we can actually address this? So to address these challenges, we come up with a solution, and what we are calling it is a dormant AWS account deletion solution. That's a mouthful, but bear with me here. So this solution is basically nothing but a automated workflow that identifies these inactive dormant accounts, and it starts basically deleting the idle resources from these AWS accounts and gives you a cost saving. One of the interesting things that we also saw that this sort of a pattern is very much present in the non-production environment, right? Because we are actually more careful how things look in production, how things run in production. But especially in the development and sandbox environments, we saw this activity quite high, and that's where we also decided to target those accounts, especially in those regions. That's also quite important from a risk standpoint. And if I have to list down some of the key features of this workflow, of this solution, it would be mainly that how we detect these inactive accounts, how we detect these dormant accounts. I think there is an algorithm which I will talk a little bit about that. That's quite interesting as part of this solution. How do we handle the deletion of the resources? Because there are also some caveats around timeouts with Lambda and number of resources that can be deleted from accounts, certain exceptions that we need to keep in mind. And then you just don't want to go ahead and delete resources without even getting a feedback or getting some sort of acknowledgement from the users. So how do we handle that through notification and approval mechanism, and ultimately how to bring the visibility, how to get necessary reporting, necessary observability aspects out of it. So this is how the high-level solution looks like. The solution that we created is divided into three main pillars. The first one is dormant identification, where we have to deploy certain prerequisites. So things like deploying a IAM role in a AWS organization, so that we can actually list the organizational unit, the OUs, and also see what are the AWS accounts in those OUs, and then we can run the dormant algorithm on them. So once we executed the dormant algorithm, dormant detection algorithm, what are these dormant accounts? And then what to do with that? That's where the second phase comes, which is the user notification and deletion flow. So once we have this list of dormant accounts, we actually send a notification to the account owners. So Booking already has a staff API kind of a service which lets you identify who are the owners and who are the users within a team that is using that account. So that way, we also address some issue with the vacation problem, and notify necessary people within that team that, hey, by the way, it seems you are not using this account for some time. Do you confirm that this can be deleted or not? And if they give their approval, we go ahead and schedule that account for deletion by moving it into a dedicated OU, isolated OU, something like a Purgatory OU. Now, once it is there, that's the place where we also start getting rid of the resources. And there are also some resources which are actually required from a logging and auditing purposes. So they can be added into the exception list. So it's not like we are completely wiping it out, but we do have a control on that. And once the resources are deleted, now even if your account is scheduled for deletion, but is not deleted due to that organization limit, you are not really incurring much cost around that particular account, which gives you quite a lot of cost optimization at a scale where booking is operating, and Anushka will talk about that. Now, when it comes to reporting, how do you showcase all the great results that are coming up? So we also have, as I said, this notification approval mechanism, but on top of that, a lot of metrics around the execution, operation of the solution, and also reporting to showcase like how the how the cost savings look like, how it is looking at a quarterly level, yearly level, so on. So let's go and take a look at the technical architecture. So I kind of simplified this. We will, of course, go and look into the small details as well. But the core of this solution is a step function workflow. And the reason for selecting this approach was also that it gives us a kind of a embedded approval mechanism that we were looking for. And with the parallel task execution within step functions, even if we have a large amount of accounts that we need to scan, that we need to get feedback, that was possible. So the step function plays a critical role in performing all the key steps, like identifying dormant account, sending notifications to the account owners, as well as moving the account to Purgatory and deleting these AWS resources. Right? You will also see some of the IAM roles on your left-hand side, and those are the ones which I was talking about as prerequisites, because the list of accounts that we are going to scan comes from these different OUs, and what we do is that using those IAM roles, we actually scan the OUs, we actually scan the accounts. We also have a provision where we can add exceptions of which OUs should be exempted or which account should be exempted. So that is also something is taken care by this solution. And something which is also interesting, you see AWS code build in picture. Now the reason for using AWS code build was also that when we are deleting the resources from AWS account, we cannot merely rely on Lambdas, because Lambda will time out after 15 minutes. We have a lot of, if we have a lot of resources, we need something which is long running, but at the same time is managed. So that's why using something like AWS code build was a good approach for us. And what it does is that we invoke the AWS code build jobs, and they basically take care of running this deletion of AWS resources. On the right side, you will also see the approval mechanism that I was talking about. So whenever an account is identified as a dormant, we go ahead and notify the account owners, and they get some sort of a link where they can just go ahead and approve that, hey, by the way, I'm okay with deleting this account. And that feedback is then sent back to the step function workflow, and then we move ahead with some additional controls also, like automatic as well as manual control. And last but not least is the DynamoDB. So all these activities, whether it's identifying accounts, whether it's identifying whether it's dormant or not, whether user approval states, how they have changed, all these operations are tracked in DynamoDB, which is super useful when we do the reporting, at let's say monthly or quarterly level, right? So with that, I'm going to highlight a bit more on the dormant identification flow, because this was the crucial part for us as part of the solution. So in order to identify whether an account is dormant or not, we perform certain checks. Checks like how the SSO logins look like on this account. What are the access logs look like for IAM users or any users that are accessing these accounts. Then we also look at some specific CloudTrail log, not all, because there are also some auditing and logging operations that are going on. So we also look at certain CloudTrail pattern and specific services such as EC2, like how the network in, network out KPI looks like. And based on that, we detect, is this account really getting used by anyone? Is this account really used by any workload as such? Are the services within these accounts are performing any task or not? And once this is done, we notify the account owners. To talk about how the notification flow works, I'll hand over to Anushka again.
Thank you. So this is one of the notification that is getting sent out when we detect that the account is dormant. So if you see, we provide the user two options. Basically, user can either opt out or user can choose remind me later. On the top part is the account information. So basically, user can validate that yes, the account belongs to himself or herself, account name, account owner, although which project it was related to. Then we gave two options, opt out or remind me later, and we also specify that if you select opt out, then you are confirming that this account will be used in coming future. Or it could happen that if the user is on vacation or user cannot take a decision at that moment, so user can click remind me later and then we'll again send the reminder after 30 days. And if there is no action taken, so by default the account will be marked for deletion, it will be deleted after the grace period is over, and also the resources within that will be all deleted. So this is one of the email notification that got sent out. Now comes the second part of the flow. Once we have detected the account is dormant, we have sent out the notification. Now comes out how we'll delete it and how we'll delete the resources within it. So if you see on the first part, as soon as we send the notification, we mark the account for deletion and then we wait for 15 days. So 15 days is the grace period that is provided to user. Either user can make any action, he can basically choose opt out or whatever user takes an action. If user doesn't take any action, then by default it will be marked for deletion. There is a certain check. If you see after the wait period, we have just added an additional check that yes, the account was deleted and it has actually moved to Purgatory. Once we verify that, then comes our main critical part of the solution, basically to delete the resources. So to delete the resources, we have used Nuke library, AWS-Nuke, which is an open source library, and we haven't used the tool directly. We have used code build. So code build executes a script, it assumes a role. So with the cross account role we have established, so we deployed the stack sets which deployed in all non-prod accounts. So this role existed in all the non-prod accounts. So this code build assumes that nuker role, it downloads that library, it fires the nuke command and it deletes all the resources within that account. Also, one of the cool feature about AWS-Nuke is you can maintain a config file. So we have maintained it and put it in the S3 bucket. So what happens is in the config file we have mentioned that these are the excluded resources. So after communication with cloud security team, so there is a list of resources that needs to be maintained even for the accounts in Purgatory, like guard duty, security hub. So we have maintained an excluded list of resources that AWS-Nuke just skips them and delete everything apart from it. Also we have maintained a critical account list. Also our automation doesn't run on production, but if somehow any prod account is detected, at coming of the lower stage, AWS-Nuke will reject that account and it will not touch that. And if any of the stage fails, we have the error message, it gets published to SNS and we get a team notification. So this completes our whole account deletion flow, right, starting from identification to actually deleting all the resources. So moving on, this is the additional edge case that we added. So basically what we found out is users were manually deleting the accounts as well using our internal portal, and also there could be reasons like there could be resources running in them and there could be incurring cost. We don't want any cost incurring in the Purgatory. So what we did is we also added this parallel branch with our step function. What it does is it will scan the Purgatory, it will fetch out all the manually deleted accounts. It will use the same nuking job and it will delete all the resources within those accounts as well. Similar to that, it's a parallel branch. So now comes, we are also sending, once this whole flow, it's running like every day. And then it's resulting some of the numbers. So just for our internal teams and to notify our senior managers, we are sending some of the internal reports. This is one of the report that gets sent out. So the time duration, how many total accounts were scanned, how many of them were dormant, how many belong to sandbox and how many belong to dev, and also what was the cost before deletion. So this would give us an idea like how much we have saved until the month. So every week on Friday we send this report and then we get an idea how much we are saving, what's the numbers right now in production. So now comes the main part, like what we have achieved, what were the results. So when we ran this solution first time, the results were pretty amazing. Like from the total overall accounts, 63% of them were dormant accounts. And from the sandbox, 39% of them were dormant. And then in the development environment, the 75% of them were dormant. Actually, no one was using them. So all these numbers contributed to a savings. So we got an 8% of the total cloud expenditure. At booking.com scale, this number was a significant amount of money and it was spent in other parts of business. And we can see that 8% came from 5% from the dev environment and the 3% from sandbox environment. So apart from cost savings, we also got some operational benefits from the solution. So it has completely reduced the cloud expenditure by eliminating all the idle resources. We have also removed all the manual overhead. Now no one needs to go and log in into the Purgatory account and then delete a resource. Our automation will handle that. Also now there is more enhanced visibility. The AWS account management has been improved. There are regular cleanups. So all our non-prod environments are more healthy and optimized, we can say. And also there is increased governance in all that. So all the key takeaways this solution has provided us. So this was the whole journey of our dormant account deletion project. We hope that this has provided you some useful insights and you can apply on your own cloud journey if your company is also facing from this dormant account deletion challenge. Thank you. We will now take questions.
Thank you. It was an insightful talk. Questions, please. Okay, there one, two.
Thank you. It was a very sort of nice use case. Probably question to AJU, because in booking we don't have anything in production yet where we have detected dormant account, but I'm sure you must have identified those use cases where there are dormant account in production. But my question is like your detection algorithm where you have a lot of heuristics around network in and out for the EC2, etc. But there are stuff like SNS, for example. So what I'm trying to say is there are partial resources which are not being used at all, but there are resources which are being used at a very sort of low traffic, but are still useful for the business. So how do you detect, or have you seen any kind of use case where you sort of deleted those accounts and then it was actually a business, there was some business disruption because of that?
So I think that was the decision that we made at the beginning, and that's why we wanted to also have this double layer of controls. So not only just relying on the automatic dormant detection and then going ahead and deleting the resources within those accounts, but rather also adding a additional manual acknowledgement layer. So that gives us that guarantee that, hey, by the way, this is also confirmed by the team. If not by the team member, the notification also goes to their manager. So they also have to confirm back. And then another angle was, of course, as you mentioned, that running this in non-production, which also assured that we are not taking any risk with respect to production accounts, and we are not really impacting any business critical operation. Now, are we missing any resources? I guess that was also part of your question. What we do is actually we look at the AWS account, the Cloud Explorer API, and look at what are the different resources that are being used. And we only do these checks on those resources, and based on that, the logic tells you whether it's a dormant or not.
So firstly, thanks for the presentation. I may have misunderstood, but from what I understood, this workflow that you guys made, it's all internal for Booking.com. Is that right?
Yeah.
So my question is, if that's the case, have you guys considered making this into like a proprietary software, selling it out to other companies to clear out their resources and save money?
Selling out, we haven't thought of it, being honest. It's more specific because if you see the structure, it's more specific about our OU structure. We have a specific Purgatory OU that is meant for once the account is marked for deletion, it is moved to Purgatory OU. But yeah, we can like create some documentation. We are writing a blog as well, which will be available on AWS portal, which will showcase all how we did it, what were the challenges, and how did we do the flow. And then maybe you can use that and apply it on your company. Yeah. Thank you.
Any more?
Thank you. I just want to say, I mean, with regards to the benefits, it was good to see that, including sustainability, which I think it's a big word, you know, these days. My question is around the deletions. I mean, do you have any guardrails or, you know, any policies in place to make sure that things like, you know, the login, security, compliance details, you know, are not deleted for these accounts, for instance?
Yeah, so while we are deleting, so we maintain a list, and also in that list we have like security, and we preserve some IAM roles as well, so that the security team has access and they have the access even if the account is in Purgatory. So we maintain that even in the deletion process. Yeah.
Any more questions? We have time for 2 more questions. Yeah.
Thanks very much for sharing the story. It was really interesting to hear it. I have a question. Did I understand correctly that more than half of your accounts were dormant?
Yes, 75% of them.
75%.
Yeah.
That's a huge number.
But we have different dev OUs. We have even dev OUs. We have like BCF. I mean, we have different dev OUs. So in all the dev OUs, it was 75%. Yes.
But, have you looked, and I would be very interested to hear, have you looked at actually addressing the root cause of the problem that those accounts became dormant? Because it seems like this was fixing, you know, the consequence. I hope that makes sense.
So one of the, I guess you can hear my voice. So one of the most important thing was, you know, the results that were achieved at the first iteration, they were also very significant. But now once this process runs on a recurrent on periodic basis, slowly, let's say the best practices around account management, they are automatically enforced. So we actually see a more sustainable you know, management of account with respect to cleanup, with respect to, you know, cost reduction and so on. So I think that's how it will benefit.
Okay, last question.
Hi, thanks for the presentation. Just curious, what numbers we are talking about in Booking.com about the number of accounts, just trying to compare with our company. Are we talking hundreds, thousands, or what numbers?
It's in hundreds.
Hundreds, thank you.
Yeah.
Okay, thank you so much. And please give a big round of applause to these guys. Thank you.
Thank you.